Hello, Will here, and in this video we're going to look at the wombat and all its different subspecies to finally understand what the hell a wombat actually is. Now before I go and explain the subspecies of wombats, we have to look at the wombat in general to make sure we know what makes them unique. The wombat is a short-legged but muscular, bulky beef boy in the Wombat family tree, and they are only native to Australia. They usually grow up to 1 meter in length, with small stubby tails and usually weigh between 20 to 35 kilos, with a body shape of a 2x2 Lego brick. And if you think electric scooters in your city are really fast, the wombat can reach speeds of up to 40 kilometers an hour. That's the same speed as a school driving zone in Australia. So people believe when hitting a kangaroo in your car, it will damage your car a lot. Well, that's true, but if you hit a wombat, well, prepare for your car to be a write-off. And wombats are very adaptable to new climates and habitats. They can be found in forests, mountains, and grasslands too. The wombat is a herbivore, meaning they're vegetarian. Their diet includes grasses, plants, herbs, roots, and barks. And they spend most of their day grazing for food, using their rodent-like teeth and their super strong jaw to grip onto and tear through their food. And as I just said, their teeth are rodent-like, meaning they're constantly growing. So they have to wear down their teeth throughout their life, like a capybara, guinea pig, or even a rat. Now you might think the wombat is in the rodent family because of how visually similar they look to the capybara. But they're not a rodent at all. They're actually a marsupial, which is a mammal that didn't grow a true placenta, and also has a pouch for their young to be carried in. Meaning the wombat is closer in family to the bandicoot, kangaroos, and even possums. And they are the second largest marsupial out of all the species, just behind the red kangaroo. But can you guess what their closest relative is? I'll give you a few seconds to think. It's actually the koala. Now I know they don't look physically similar, but both species have backwards facing pouches. So the baby's head is right under its butt. The reason why for the backwards facing pouch is because they keep their baby close by and also dig without getting dirt in the face of the baby. And actually the wombat doesn't have many natural predators, but that doesn't mean the wombat is safe. Their predators include foxes, dingoes, wild dogs, feral stray cats, eagles, Tasmanian devils, only found in Tasmania, and most of all, Ford Ranger drivers speeding above the speed limit on country roads. But the biggest threat to wombat existence, and it's no surprise here, is habitat destruction. And what's their main form of defense? Well, it's their ass. I feel like I keep just bringing it back to the wombat's ass, but I'm really trying not to. The reason why their ass is their main way of defense is because when they're getting chased by a predator, they run back into their burrows and block off the entrance while mooning their predators in the face. But don't worry, the wombat asses aren't weak. They're actually really strong, being very resistant to bites and scratches, having the same materials as stainless steel. Now before I talk about all the subspecies, I'm going to talk about some fun facts I didn't know where else to put in the video. Keeping on the topic of wombat asses, they actually poo out cubes. So when you go hiking and see these cubes, just remember they're wombat poops, not lamingtons without the sprinkles. Because I'm sure some of you have made that mistake. A group of wombats is called a wisdom, and they're pretty wise. The wombat can grow up to the age of 15 in the wild, but they're known to live up to 20 in captivity. And there are 3 subspecies of wombats, so let's start talking about them. The first one is the bare-nosed wombat, which is the most common one out of the 3, meaning they are in the least concerned category on the conservation status. And these guys go by a lot of names, including the naked-nosed wombat, island wombat, Tasmanian wombat, forest wombat, coarse-haired wombat, and the last name, the common wombat. Yeah, so they have a few names, eh? And the bare-nosed wombat can be found in a lot of different places in Australia. That includes southeast Queensland, right down to eastern Victoria and Tasmania. And out of all the islands around the Bass Strait, only one of them has wombats on there now. And that is Flinders Island, which has become quite the tourist attraction to go see the wombats in the snow. And for the common wombat, they do come in a lot of different colour variants, like shiny Pokemon. There is the glossy black, dark grey, silver grey, chocolate brown, grey brown, and my favourite, pale sandy. And there's a lot of distinguishing features. They are their large naked nose, rounded ears, and their thick coat. Now onto the next wombat, and that is the southern hairy-nosed wombat, and they can only be found in South Australia. And their conservation status is near threatened, with a population in the wild of only 60,000 to 130,000. And there is only one colour variant out of the subspecies, and that is grey. They have whitish pouches beneath their eyes, with pointed ears and a flattened head, and a snout that somewhat resembles a pig compared to the bare-nosed wombat. And they are the second biggest wombat species. And I also think when you look at this species of wombat, you can tell they're really related to the kangaroo. Just look at how chunky these boys both look. Now onto our last subspecies of wombat, and that is the northern hairy-nosed wombat. And they are the largest wombat out of the subspecies. And not just that, they are one of the rarest mammals in all of Australia. They can grow up to 1 metre long and weigh up to 30 kilos. And why are they one of Australia's rarest mammals? Well, unfortunately, they are listed as critically endangered on the conservation status, with an estimation of only 315 in the wild, and that was in 2021, 3 years ago. And this wombat can only be found in Queensland, at Moonee Creek, and also found in Epping Forest National Park. And they were also found in northern New South Wales, but unfortunately have gone fully extinct there. And they look very similar to the southern hairy-nosed wombat, with pointy ears, greyish colour tone, broad nose, and the difference being black eye patches. And the northern wombat is much more muscular than the other two. And this subspecies has the longest life expectancy out of the three, living up to 30 years in captivity. And they are the most nocturnal wombat out of them all, only coming out at night. And get this, they only breed every 2 years. And not just that, the conditions have to be right. Because if they're not, or they don't feel comfortable, they just don't breed. And they'll have a single joey, which will stay in the pouch for 9 to 10 months. So with such a slow breeding program, that's another reason why they're going extinct. But there are areas in Queensland that have been fenced off from predators to keep these guys alive. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you learned something new about wombats and their subspecies. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and comment that you actually watched it and subscribed. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.